Good morning, my loves. Thank you for joining me for my spiritual message this month. Today, I would very much like to talk to you about light. And specifically, I want to read from Swedenborg's book, The Last Judgment, number 291. And this is where he actually goes to the spiritual world and he talks to Sir Isaac Newton, of all people. And he talks to him about vacuum, and he talks to him about colors. And so I'm just going to read the second part, which is the part where Swedenborg is talking to Sir Isaac Newton concerning colors. Newton said that in the whole world, he had believed them, colors, to arise from substances flowing continually from the solar ocean as differently colored particles of matter and attaching themselves constantly to like particles and objects in the world. So too, when they pass through translucent materials, he had viewed them as then flowing paths of light according to its diffractions and refractions, and passing through them as counterpart to counterpart, thus red to red, blue to blue, yellow to yellow, and so on, as in the case of prisms, crystalline spheres, and vapors which produce rainbows. Some angels, however, did not acknowledge this to be the case of colors, saying that there are just as well colors in the spiritual world as in the natural world. And in the spiritual world, one's more vivid, splendid, and variegated than in the natural world. Moreover, they know that colors are variegations in their light, they said, corresponding to their love or goodness and to their wisdom or truth, and that the sun from which their light emanates is the Lord himself, whose divine love surrounding him produces the appearance of a sun, and whose divine wisdom issuing from him produces the appearance of light. They also said that from that sun, which, as they said, is pure love, no such substances or particles of matter as he described flow forth. But the pure light of that sun produces variegations of colors and objects according to the reception of wisdom by angels. The color red, insofar as their wisdom originates from goodness, and the color white, insofar as their wisdom originates from truth, and the rest of the colors as they are possessed of a deficiency or lack of these, which in their world corresponds to darkness in the natural world. Furthermore, through their spiritual ideas, by which they are able to both to present and to make manifest the causes of things vividly and to full assent, the angels demonstrated that colors are nothing else but variegations of a flaming light and white light in objects according to their forms, and that colors are not material substances, as light is not, because they correspond to the love and wisdom of angels, but from which they emanate by divine operation. And the love and wisdom of angels are not material substances, but spiritual. In the world, too, heat and light are not material substances, but natural, and they flow into material objects and are modified in them according to the forms of their constituents. Consequently, colors are not material substances either, as they would be if they sprang from differently colored atoms. Finally, the angels said with some exasperation, "Who does not see the paradox in the Newtonian explanation, indeed the absurdity?" And they went away, these are physicist angels, saying that they would return if Newton theorized about colors spiritually or even naturally, and not so materially and sensually. Some spirits then went over him and said, "Think, please, of colors not from the perspective of some small prism, or the way they appear on some wall, but from the perspective of the greenness of all the forests and the grassy fields throughout the entire world in which you have been, Can you conceive of a continual emanation from the sun of a green color only, and at the same time of its flowing in constant renewal? Can you conceive, too, of a continual flowing in of a gray or stony color into the mountains of the whole earth, and so on? Would you not then be conceiving of continuous oceans of only a green or stony color? Tell us where they go when they cease. Do they go off into the universe, or do they sink down somewhere or rise upward? Perhaps new worlds are formed of them, for from so large a mass they may be, being material substances. After thinking about the matter more deeply, this is important, Newton said, "Now I know that colors are modifications of light in objects, in whose forms light is variegated in accordance with the forms of their constituents, giving rise to colors." Those are Newton's own words, which he wishes me to communicate. Now, regardless, let's just put aside the veracity of whether or not this is actually Sir Isaac Newton speaking, who lived, several generations before Swedenborg. And let's instead think about kind of the larger conceptual framework for what he's talking about in this passage. What he's doing is he's reorienting the ontological framework through which a physics-based question is being asked. He's reversing the perspective through which we are assuming phenomenological reality. On the one hand, we have Newton, who is claiming that the properties of light are based on these particles, these color things. And on the other hand, we have Swedenborg, who is, turns out, more correct, not entirely correct. Thanks, Einstein. But we have Swedenborg, on the other hand, who is saying, no, colors are about the thing that the light is refracting off of. This shirt has something substantial in it that is refracting green back into your eyes, back into the camera. And the greenness is not in the beam of light. And this has deep kind of philosophical layers behind it. This is actually saying something about how they perceive reality. This is something epistemological. It's something about, what do we consider truth? How do we get truth? Is truth something outside of us? Is truth something that exists in this particularized atomic world? Or is truth something that is more about our reception of a higher spiritual reality? And therefore, spirituality, spiritual development, is all about making ourselves receivers which reflect on the right wavelengths. It's about becoming vibratory modes. And I want to say something about that place where he talks about variegations between red and white, the flaming red and the white light that the angels see, because that white I interpret as ultraviolet, which we see to our eyes as white. And so within that, there's the awareness that there is a whole expanded spectrum within the ambient truth. There's a whole potential for understanding and exploration and different explanations and mythologies within the light that we all get from God. And you can see those as different ways of accommodating that higher reality, different adaptions to receive that white light. And so the angelic state of mind, the angelic perception, is one which is able to perceive a higher light within the whole rainbow of color and awareness. And at the same time, see every color and recognize that every color is part of that ladder that is ultimately doing the work of connecting love and wisdom within ourselves. And it's all about ourselves. And that's the spiritual message of this very weird passage. Peace and power.